Welcome back, everybody, to our second week. So last week we looked at how there are three different ways that people hold faith even when they are within a specific tradition. So we talked about traditional believers, people who hold their faith in a very traditional, very conservative way, um, and how to work with those folks in a very specific way that is going to be meaningful for them. Then we talked about liberal believers who, even though they use the same metaphors, the same images, and they read the same scriptures, and they tell the same stories, they come up with startlingly different conclusions about what this all means. And so working with these people is going to require a completely different paradigm. And we looked at that paradigm. Then we also looked at the Jack believers, people who feel rejected by their community and yet still live within the traditional paradigm. This week, however, we're going to look at three groups that are not so traditional. Three groups that are not so tied to religion as it's traditionally held. So, for instance, we're going to be looking at spiritual eclectics. Perhaps you know a few. Spiritual eclectics are people who are eclectic in their spirituality. They draw a little bit from here, maybe a meditation practice. They draw a little bit from here. We really like these scriptures. They draw a little bit from here as far as human potential and how to reach it. And they kind of put it together in like their own personal jigsaw puzzle. That they're trying to figure out, a way of being spiritual and of approaching the divine that is uniquely theirs. Then we're also going to be looking at religious agnostics. This is a very unusual group. It's a small group, but you will encounter them. Religious agnostics are people who don't know. They don't know if there's a God. They don't know if any of this spiritual stuff is true. But they find value in religious community. They find value in religious tradition. And so they ground themselves there. They're comfortable using the metaphors and the symbols. They just hold them very lightly. So working with them is going to require a different paradigm as well, because they come with their own set of challenges and growth patterns. The third group we're going to look at is what I call ethical humanists. Now, this is a bit of a catch-all category and can include atheists, even hardcore atheists, agnostics, people who call themselves brights. Perhaps you've encountered some of them. And anyone else who comes with a very skeptical approach to any of this spirituality stuff. And yet there is a very real spirituality for these people. These are people who definitely feel connected to a larger, I want to say entity, but that has too much personality and it's too personal. Call it the universe. They feel part of a larger thing. And there is a deep and rich spirituality in that, even though they might not refer to it using that kind of terminology. So how do you work with those folks when they come into your room? And I know it might sound strange that someone like this might come for spiritual guidance, but it's happened to me several times. It might happen to you. I'm willing to guess that if you hang in there with this ministry, it will. All right, so ready to go? Let's crack the books.